this next chapter is looking big. It's one of, if not, I can't say the most big thing I've wanted to see in 100 Years Quest, because there's a couple things that I probably, like, just pondering, I would want to see more. Obviously, Ignia versus Natsu is up there, but I've got my hype fingers crossed still on the idea of, like, afterwards maybe, or before, we can have like Wendy Milky Way, Natsu's scarf, and bring Igneal's spirit back to talk to his two sons. I would love that so much. But regardless, there's just wild speculation on, yeah, this could happen. Doesn't mean it is. But this next chapter, we are getting, again, it's a setup that I have wanted since Celine's introduction, and that is Irene and Celine to meet. It, it was one of those things how, if we started out 100 Years Quest and somehow like met Celine, like we met Celine like chapter 2 or 3, the idea of Irene never would have crossed my mind until obviously when we got Irene's reveal of her personality being enchanted into Wendy. And shortly after that, we got Celine. And then it was just like this coincidence of, this dragon slaying queen and this dragon goddess. Like, now they are within enough proximity that the idea of their interaction could easily happen. Personally, I think this is what I hope, at least, going to be what leads to one, Irene getting a new body and Celine getting her body fixed. Because I feel like if you have Irene there, because Irene isn't, she's not a Xerath level magic genius, but she's still intelligent enough, skilled enough, and knowledgeable enough in just, wider scale magic usage. I feel like she could figure something out. Because she invented dragon slaying magic. She invented, like, the biggest game-changing magic in the series. Like, it's not the single most OP. Like, that depends, obviously, on, like, the user and stuff. But it is the biggest game changer, obviously, because it's what changed the balance of the world from the dragons to the humans. But now, again, we have literally a setup interaction for the next chapter. And, we didn't have to wait for her to get a body back. It seems that Celine can see the I can't even say spirit. It's more of like a, it's kind of really hard to see. It's more like, I can't say like a concept, because it's not the same thing. And it's not a thought projection. I guess more of like a persona, or a manifestation of her personality, because it's a little weird, because she's not technically a ghost, spirit, a soul, or anything like that. She is like a one-for-one duplicate of her personality enchanted into somebody's body, again, which is really neat. But I know there have been people that have the theory that Irene will take Celine's body. One, I don't feel like there's any real benefit to that, but also there's the fact that if that were to happen, then one, she's gonna be in a damaged body, and that's like, what, you just throw Celine away for Irene? And I like Irene, but I think that's a bad idea. And in a lot of ways, I felt like that Celine and Ignia are like Mishima's set up to kind of like have a, not the same, but a similar-esque vibe of Irene and Acnologia after like some of the rushing that happened in Alvarez. And now we're gonna get maybe a little bit of an interaction between them to see like how things connect, and who knows what kind of lore could come out of this. Because Irene and Celine both were alive 400 plus years ago, so they've both been around since everything started. But also, one thing that is major in the whole interaction, and it doesn't have to happen this chapter, but I just want it to happen at some point. I need the acknowledgement that Irene, obviously, for inventing dragon slaying magic, is to a degree responsible for a lot of what happened to the dragons. And again, you can't blame the humans like they're the sole evil in this scenario, because it's not like Irene planned for Acnologia. But the dragons were obviously a problem for humanity, so it's like it was a war at that point. They should have the full ability to fight back, and it just was they couldn't at the time before dragon slaying magic. But it's the general interaction of Celine knowing that she's going to be having a conversation with the person who indirectly created Acnologia. Not entirely, but if it wasn't for her, dragon slaying magic never would have occurred, and dragons would still be the dominant species on the planet. Again, really, really neat stuff just from, you have, again, Mother of Dragon Slayers, OP dragon goddess who's literally now about to clash. And any other bits when it comes to their existence and their time across the 400 plus years, or maybe we'll see that they met at some point prior, or maybe Irene has met one of Celine's children and then something like that. I don't know. I would really like to just get some bit that gives us a really cool extra insight on, say, like Celine's character again. Like if we said like, oh yeah, Irene's like, I met your daughter or whatever, other son, whatever. You see this one dragon, and maybe Irene and them met, or maybe like one of them fought with her in the war, or they fought against them in the war. Something like that I think would be really cool. And then just in general, I want to see some stuff about like White Legacy, what's going to go on with this weapon. Are they going to talk about Viernes? I would love to hear about Viernes from her. Like maybe she's going to be like, oh, blah, 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 I can help you with this. And, we can go and talk to whoever to get this fixed up. Bam, Viernes. And I think it makes sense because assuming it's Viernes again, the Gold Owl right now, I'm just going to assume that Viernes is either the Guildmaster or he's in some way associated with the Guild. If they have the ability for human transmutation, because it's confirmed that God Serena is dead. The one that we saw, I would assume it's kind of like a Historia, or kind of like how Irene exists, where he's dead, but he's not really alive. He's kind of an undead, but it's more of like, I think it's kind of like the way that I would the best describe it. It's kind of closer to, it's probably closer to Silver, where he's essentially a corpse in a way, but he's alive, sentient, but he's still dead. I feel like that would make a lot of sense, or some variant of that. But if they have the capability of doing that, I feel like they have the full capability of giving a body to Irene. And potentially for a way to fix Celine, because if there's a way to use alchemy to mess with flesh, like maybe there's a way to fix her. I feel like there's got to be some way upcoming to reveal like how to heal Celine, how to like fix her, because like otherwise like Mishima could kill her off, but right now he's just keeping her around. I feel like I really like the whole bit of obviously dragons. They can't just heal from dragon wounds. Obviously, it's like permanent damage, which makes a lot of sense, and it goes with obviously like why dragon slaying magic is so effective against them as well, and why dragons were terrified of acting Loki even though they had regeneration. It's like not gonna work on this guy, as well as the dragon gods not fighting each other, because that was one thing that I talked about for a long time, and it wasn't the idea of obviously the regen. It was like if two dragon gods fought, regardless who won, it would just take another one to pop up. Because like imagine if it's like Mercephobia and Celine are fighting, right at the end, whoever's barely alive, Ignia just shows up and he's like, all right, bitch, fried, and kills him. He's like, okay, now there's just, two of us, two other guys I gotta deal with, kind of thing. And then with Alderaan, I feel like, though, even with equal levels, he should still have the power advantage on Alderaan, though. But with that, it's obviously going to be a bit of a wait in terms of the larger scale kind of setup for it. I'm just hoping that this next chapter we get some really good general interactions between the two of them, but also some just information that will give an idea of obviously where we're headed. Again, like if we have something about like yada yada getting a body for Irene, and then like, oh yeah, for alchemy and whatever, and maybe Celine's like what if Celine's like, I only know one person that could heal my wounds, and it's Viernes, and then like she explains some stuff about Viernes, and we get some lore and exposition on it. Because I think one, that would make a lot of sense, and I think right now for two, that what Mishima has planned for Celine and why he would hurt her but keep her around and kind of keep her in this I'm dying state would be to keep her nerfed. Because Celine is now on their side, but if Celine showed up to help them fight against Viernes, then like fully healed, then it's like, well, they should be able just to jump right to Viernes. Because like think about this, if Viernes, like when we get to the Ark for Viernes, regardless if he has extra enemies, if he's allies, if he's got other dragons, or if he's just got Gold Owl or what. If Celine was there, Celine will literally just walk through everybody that isn't Viernes. She will one-shot every single person there or teleport them out. But because obviously we have stuff in the story that's set up to why she can't go and why she isn't going to be able just to strut on in there, I think it would be really cool if instead while she's in this kind of like kindred state, that she is in the back kind of being like a person in the chair, like she kind of adds a little support to them, and then gives them information, because Selene should have plentiful useful information for them. And on top of that, I wonder if she has any she has any treasures or anything that she could give them. Like, imagine she's like, oh, essentially kind of like, imagine like when Wendy got the spell from Porliushika. It's like, oh, she hands them each some form of like a letter. Like, she's like, oh, I've got these from a when the Dragon Slayers all happened, blah blah blah. There used to be books on them. We kept them all. For whatever. Like, I went and took them and kept some of them, and it's like, oh, there's some information on like each person's like attribute that will give them like another secret art or advance in some neat way. Just like some small like little perk up. It doesn't have to be for every character. I'd be fine if it was just like, hey, Laxus, would you like Dragon Force or something also really cool? I don't know. Well, not his shitty second gen Dragon Force. We don't talk about those. But anyway, other than that, for this next chapter, like I said, it's rough for speculation in terms of a pinpoint of like, oh yeah, they're going to talk about this, because like we don't have relatively any idea fully what they're talking about or going to talk about. It's more of the possibility of how these two are going to collide and interact that makes it so hype, and that's what I'm super excited for, because it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be amazing. And usually, what's funny is like, you get those chapters where it's like tons of just general dialogue and not a lot of action or like lore propagation or anything like that. It's like this is one of those ones where it's like, when I open up the chapter and I see a lot of kanji between the two of them, I'm gonna be seeing speech bubbles back and forth between these characters. And I'm just gonna be wondering the whole time, what are these girls saying to each other? I need to know. I want to know what these freaking top tier badass women are gonna be conversing about. Because I also am really hoping that they my big hope for like in terms of like their general interaction is I'm hoping that they kind of get along, but there's like a bit of friction there, kind of like less so than Kana and Aquarius, but kind of a little bit of that vibe where it's like the longer they talk, the more often like little jabs come out. I think that'd be really cool. And other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts are about this upcoming chapter. I feel like everybody's hyped for this. Just like it's an interaction that I don't think that anybody is like, yeah, I can do without that. It's like, no, what are you talking about? This is going to be great. Anyway, we'll see. As long as Mishima doesn't off-panel it or just kind of like do nothing with it, I just want to see some nice backs and forth. I would love just to see some stuff like acknowledgement on, yeah, you're the person who pretty much indirectly caused Acnologia to be able to happen, essentially, and what happened to the dragons. Stuff like that is the big neat kind of like cherry on top for whatever it is. Everything else will just be additional and beautiful, but we'll see. Either way, comment below. Tell me your thoughts, obviously, about what's going to happen and what you want most to be conversed between Irene and Selene. And again, I know some people wanted that whole Irene takes her body, but I feel like that doesn't feel like a good idea, because it's literally a severely injured body that Selene right now is like doing her best to keep up. Anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, like button, subscribe, and check out my other videos. But that, appreciate it. Subscribe. Thank you all for listening. Bye.